I think we've captured the imagination of the country because we've asked Canadians to dream bigger. We say you deserve better. And we've rejected the notion that Canadians should settle for less. And we believe in people. We believe that they deserve great things in their life. They deserve to live a bright life. I see a young person and I see them, sometimes their eyes filled with fear, and I want to replace that with hope. And I believe they deserve better. And I'm fighting for them, and I'm fighting for them with everything I've got. And my team is fighting for them because we know that they deserve so much more. And we can deliver it. That's the positive thing on all this. We got here because of choices that were made by Conservatives and Liberals. We can get out of here with choices that are made by New Democrats for people. So let's do this.
So we just have a couple days left in this election, folks. It's almost over. And we're starting to get a sense for what it might all look like on October 21st after all the votes have been counted. And what it's starting to look like is that there will be a minority government. And it's looking like it could be either Conservative or Liberal, but leaning a little bit towards the Liberals because there's a sense that they have a better distribution of their votes. What that basically means is that the Conservatives have a lot of votes clustered in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and so they get less value for their vote because of the first past the post system. Whereas the Liberals are stronger by a little bit in some key voting areas in Ontario, and that could help them win a lot of close races that will give them the edge over the Conservatives. On the whole, a majority looks very unlikely, especially from the Conservatives. The CBC poll tracker, which was updated today, basically gives the Conservatives a literal 1% chance of winning a majority. And while the Liberals' chances of winning a majority are not high, they're quite a bit higher than that. And I want you to know this because a lot of Liberals are still beating the strategic voting drum. They're telling you that you need to stop Scheer by voting for the Liberals. But I've noted it on this channel time and time again that you do not need to simply vote Liberal to stop Andrew Scheer. That Jagmeet Singh and the NDP's rise has come at the expense of both of those parties and has made it much more likely that we're going to get a minority government. And minority governments better reflect the will of Canadians than majorities. And they don't lead to a scenario where one party gets absolute power despite having only 35, 40% of the vote, maybe even less. That's where we're at right now. And so the Liberals want you to think that Scheer could still win absolute power. And Jagmeet Singh has been very clear that he would work with the Liberals to ensure that a Conservative government doesn't happen, even if they win the most seats. So there's already a path forward should Scheer get lucky and beat Trudeau by a couple seats. If Trudeau is willing to work with Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. He hasn't said no, but he hasn't said yes either. And so that's the scenario. The Liberals want to try to edge into majority territory by perpetuating the myth that the Conservatives can still win a majority themselves. Whereas the real goal for strategic voters, for ABC progressives, is to elect as many NDPers as possible to ensure this is a minority government and to ensure that that minority government has a progressive bent to it, that it leans to the left, that there are more left-of-center voices who will push left-of-center policies to make Canada a more just and democratic and equal society. Whether that's with environmental issues or electoral reform or tax fairness or new social programs, the NDP will push for those things more reliably and more stridently than any other party. That's the Liberals or Greens or Conservatives or whoever. The NDP will be the champion on all of those platform pieces in a way no other party can be or likely will be. And that will only happen if the NDP holds the balance of power. If the Liberals win another majority, you can almost guarantee they're going to pivot to the center-right like they do after every election, and they hope that you'll forget that they did that because they'll have 4 years to make you forget. And then we'll be in the same mess we were right now, where we have a Liberal government trying to hold us all hostage by fear-mongering about a Conservative vote that doesn't look to be materializing, when what we actually need is genuine progressive change. That's only going to come if Justin Trudeau needs the support of the NDP to get legislation passed in the House of Commons. That's the only way it's going to happen. Look, as a supporter of electoral reform, I don't think anyone deserves a majority with 35-40% of the vote. It's broken, it's undemocratic, it doesn't reflect the will of the people, it's a bad system with a bad outcome. 100%. But in this case especially, with the Liberals and Tories polling even below 35, neither of them deserve it. And if you look at how they've moved in the election, both of those parties have moved downward. And if you look at Trudeau and Scheer, both of them are very unpopular. Canadians do not trust either of these men with absolute power. I certainly don't trust either of them with absolute power. I don't trust that they'll keep their promises if they're not forced to by other parties. I just don't trust it. And so what we need to see is some accountability in this next parliament. And that can come if the NDP holds the balance of power. They can stop a Scheer government from happening if Justin Trudeau is willing to make that happen. And even if the Liberals win the most seats, the NDP can still hold them to account by promoting and championing and mainstreaming progressive policy. And let's be clear, I've noted this before, but let's be clear. The Liberal Party membership supports NDP-style policies. They support our approach to pharmacare. They want a tax on the super rich. They want moves towards national daycare. They want dental care. They want the sort of policies the NDP is pushing. They don't always get it from the party they support, whether or not it's because they support the Liberals strategically, or whether or not it's because Justin Trudeau has able to portray the image of progressivism so effectively. But the reality is that with a minority government, Liberal voters might well be happier than with their own party winning an absolute majority, because Justin Trudeau will actually have to, after an election, listen to the ideas that come from the progressive wing of his own party. If you go to Liberal conventions and you see what their members talk about, they're far to the left of Justin Trudeau. And rightfully so, most Liberal voters are progressive people. They believe in a lot of the same things NDPers do. Maybe they're a bit more to the center, but it's not a crazy gulf like maybe people imagine it, at least on the member-to-member basis. And so with the NDP holding Trudeau's feet to the fire, saying to him, look, Mr. Prime Minister, you've made all these progressive promises, either in this election or the last one. You've put this message forward. You've put this image forward. You've put this worldview forward. And some Canadians really like that. So why don't we work together to build something better, to build a better Canada? But again, that can only happen if the Liberals do not have a majority. So you're going to hear this talk still from the Liberals, despite the fact that Scheer is desperate and flailing, despite the fact that Peter MacKay is already being drafted as the next Conservative leader, despite the fact that a Conservative majority is incredibly unlikely, and even a Conservative minority government can be impossible if Trudeau is willing to make it impossible by working with Singh. Despite all that, Liberals will tell you everywhere that a vote for the NDP is a vote for Andrew Scheer, and they are lying to you. A vote for the NDP in this election is first and foremost a vote for the NDP, but a vote for the NDP has been in this election a vote against Scheer and Trudeau and for a strong NDP presence in Parliament to keep the traditional center-right parties to account. That's what it's primarily been about. And Liberals, even in core NDP ridings, are spreading this lie. In ridings where the NDP currently holds the seat, they're saying only the Liberals can stop the Conservatives here. Or in ridings where the Liberals and the NDP are the only two games in town, like in Halifax or St. John's East, or many ridings in Ontario and downtown Toronto. It's really the Liberals versus the NDP. And in those ridings, the Liberals are telling you, oh man, if you vote for the NDP here in Parkdale High Park, you're going to elect an Andrew Scheer candidate. That is a lie. 100% lie. In those ridings is explicitly where Liberals need to be defeated and replaced by NDPers to make our parliament more progressive and to specifically ensure a minority government where Justin Trudeau has to be accountable to his own promises and his own rhetoric. That's the only way, unless the trend continues for Singh and we elect a Jagmeet Singh government. I haven't given up on that, frankly. But besides that, that's the only way we're going to get real progress in this 2019 election. Let's fight for every NDP seat. Let's ensure that the Liberals don't get a majority. And for those Liberals who are watching this, if a minority happens and Andrew Scheer does win the most seats, put pressure on your party to build a coalition with Jagmeet Singh. Don't you dare let Justin Trudeau hand over power to Andrew Scheer because he would rather let him govern than share power. Demand from your party a commitment to an anti-conservative coalition should that need to happen.